Welcome back to Millerton Lake. Welcome aboard Risque. My 1969 Coronado 25. Had a lot of fun on her, but this is probably the last time you're going to see her. So I am the new owner of a 1979 Alberg 30 named Liberty Call. The Alberg 30 is a perfect boat for what I'm trying to do. I would like a stepping stone from a Coronado 25 on Lake Waters all the way to a live aboard next generation Island Packet 439. An Alberg 30 is a perfect in-between boat. It's very uncomfortable. There's nothing glorious about being on board with her. She's not a dock queen. There's not a whole lot of creature comforts. That boat will force you to do the one thing it's meant to do, which is sail. Sail hard, offshore. It's great capsize ratio. That thing is meant to take a beating by some pretty rough sea states and keep going and do it safely. So it's a really good boat to bring my family up to speed and get them competent and get myself more competent at skills I need to develop. I bought it from a man named Jeffrey Perkins. He's a Navy guy. He's a veteran. He does communications in the private sector now, but he used to do communications for the special warfare teams in the Navy. Bumping into him over the years on Millerton Lake, we've got to talking a few times, and his story was just basically my story a few steps ahead. He got off of Millerton Lake, and he got into the Alberg 30 eventually, and he was sailing off the coast in Southern California quite a bit. Due to a change in a job opportunity, he knew that he was going to be spending a lot more time in the other side of California than where his boat was. He also knew from talking to me that I was trying to get out of sailing around my little fishbowl here in Millerton Lake and on to bigger, bluer waters and doing bigger, more exciting things. So when I bumped into Jeff on the dock, he goes, "Hey Nick, how you doing? Just so you know, I'm thinking about listing my Alberg 30. And I jumped on it, man. I want to go see what's going on. I don't think you're even going to have to list it. I knew the type of guy that Jeff was. I knew the type of sailor he was and how he keeps boats. And I mean, if you read his blog, he's a very meticulous guy. He's very intelligent. He's very well spoken. So he is the exact right type of person to take good care of a sailboat for a very long time. So I knew the sailboat was going to be in great condition. So I jumped on the opportunity. I went down there. I did not go down to Ventura, California with the girls just to do a boat walkthrough. That's not why I did that. I went down there to see if that was going to be a boat that I could purchase. While I was down there, I did do the walkthrough video because even if I didn't, buy the boat from Jeff, I would at least have another walkthrough for you guys to watch. And I like doing walkthrough videos. I like getting on other people's boats and checking boats out. I think it's fun. Money did not change hands while I was down there, but a gentleman's agreement was struck. As far as I'm concerned, once I shake your hand, that's what's going to happen. You excited?
Well, it sure looks like you are.
So that's how that went down. The same day that I did that boat tour for the Alberg 30 is the same day I shook hands with Mr. Perkins. It's a really good opportunity for the channel because there is not a whole lot of interesting stuff going on Millerton Lake. That's why I spend so much time doing refits and doing, ASA 101 classes on the Chesapeake and trying to put myself on other people's boats on Crew Bay. And really, I've been sailing around this lake for a couple of years now, and not a lot of the content is actually me sailing on the lake. It's me doing anything but being on this lake. And I know that the channel trailer said, Chapter 1 starts the day we move our liveaboard boat. Chapter 1 starts the day we move on board our forever boat. Subscribe to come aboard. And if you are still seeing this video... We're not going to move on the Alberg. Chapter 1 starts when I start sailing to Ensenada, and I start sailing to Catalina Island, and I start sailing to Santa Cruz Island, and we're anchoring offshore these islands off the coast of California. And that's Chapter 1, and it's going to be the very next video. So this brings me to the next topic. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the prologue. That Alberg 30 video came out. You shook hands right there. Like, why wasn't that in the video? So there are things about the prologue I just want to tell you. There are things about the YouTube channel I want to tell you. This is not the first Rendezvous with the Ramey family YouTube channel. There was one that I had published before. The very first video I ever posted was 3 years ago, and I posted it. It was of me and my wife going to Virginia and learning how to sail, getting our ASA 101 through 104 certifications. Interrupted by Navy SEALs. It was the only thing I had ever posted. I posted it 3 years ago, and it got like 50,000 views. It just kept, and I thought that was how easy YouTube was. I mean, oh, well, It was the only thing I've ever posted. It was the only, like, I just got back into video editing. I'm like, cool. So I put it on YouTube. And it just went nuts, man. It just kept getting views for like a year. Every day had like 100 views or 50 views, and it just steady inclined all the way up. And I'm like, what is going on? And so I got, I started filming other stuff and putting it up there. And my YouTube channel started to come together on the fly with no premeditation to it whatsoever. I just started filming everything I was doing on boats. And I started filming going out to sea with other people, and it was just a big learning curve. And the prologue has just been this big learning curve. And I was only releasing videos once a month because I really didn't like the 19 to 20 hours it was taking me to edit every video and check everything and then put it together and then upload it and then do all the keyword searches and all the stuff that YouTube has going on in the background that people that don't publish content really don't even think about. It's kind of a lot of work, but I had like 2,000 followers. I was monetized. I was getting money for advertisements on my channel, and it really kind of developed on the fly. And I didn't like how sloppy it seemed. So I deleted it. I really just took down my monetized YouTube channel, even though I was getting paid, and got rid of it. And I waited a while, and I kept filming, and I kept recording, and I kept editing, and I kept putting stuff together. And then I took some lessons learned. Like, I'm not releasing content once a month anymore. That's basically a nail in the coffin on a YouTube channel. Started uploading again. That's this channel. Just re-uploaded a lot of the same stuff. That's the truth. It was all over 2 years. It's been up here before, and sometimes I even put up links like, oh, if you're interested in the Magma Grill, click here, because I had the ability, because I was monetized, I had the ability to be like, look, if I'm talking about a product, I can just put the product link up. That's a little secret about the prologue, about this channel that you guys might not have known. It will explain a little bit of the things in the prologue. So the prologue has been a necessary evil. When I took down my YouTube channel, waited a bit, kept editing, and then started uploading stuff again, that content that I was uploading, the first 20 videos I uploaded had already been there before. I almost did not re-upload them because I just couldn't stand watching them. They're just terrible. Every scene goes on a little bit too long. The audio is all messed up, and the subject matter is kind of scattered, and it's like you can literally see my ADD just kind of take me sidetracked. And I really debated about just deleting them and never showing anybody again, and they would just disappear. But they were part of the process, and I learned a bunch from them. And I learned a lot if you guys comment and be like, hey man, like, I'd love to see this type of content, or I'm really excited about this, or you know what, your fucking channel sucks, dude. Like, I also want to tell you guys that everything you're watching is about, as of the release of this video, everything you're watching is about 8 months behind real time. So when you see this, I want you to know I'm 8 months into chapter 1. Okay, as a matter of fact, it's Saturday. Today is a Saturday as I'm filming this, and a video was just released on my channel a few hours ago. As I'm sitting here recording, one of my other videos was published, and the video that I'm talking about is A Rainy Day on Risque. That just came out just about an hour ago. That's a long time ago. I filmed that like 2-3 years ago. So there's just a big time difference. So I have a new boat. The prologue is over. We're moving on to chapter 1. What's going on with Risque? What's going to happen? My intention for quite a while now is to give the boat to Rick. That's not going to happen. When you have a sailboat, you think that you're going to come out here all the time and everyone's going to have a great time. You're just going to be sailing around. You can go below deck. You can eat food. You can hang out. You can relax, listen to music, play some poker, play some cards, drink some drinks, catch the wind, sail around. It's going to be a great time. That's not what happens. Everyone talks about how, like, dude, I want to see your boat. I want to take me on the boat. Let's go sailing. Let's go sailing. Like, they're not coming. Dude, they're not coming. I think Rick had the same experience. Most people have that same experience. I stopped inviting people onto my boat years ago. I was foolish enough to think that if I made this boat very comfortable below deck, that my little nieces, my nephew, they were little. I mean, they're little. And I was like, man, that'd be so cool. They'd have a good time on the boat. Like, it'd be so big to them. And I remember actually thinking, like, it'd be really cool to, like, take them sailing. It's been like 5 years. I don't think they've ever really been on this boat, ever. They've never seen the sails up. No interest in it whatsoever. And most people are like that. Sailing's not for everybody. So what has that got to do with Risque, and what has this got to do with Rick? Well, Rick used to have a boat out here, and Rick had a similar experience. When Rick finally realized that he's going to be sailing by himself, the way I've eventually realized I'll be sailing pretty much by myself. I got a phone call from the marina. I got a phone call from Rick, and he's like, hey, I heard you're the guy to talk to help me get my boat out. I have a sailboat. I'm like, yep. So I went down there and I helped Rick get his boat out. Rick was like, do you like, is it a comp? Like, what do you want for this? And I'm like, no, I don't want anything. But I could use a friend. And Rick's like, yeah, good to go. So he shook my hand, and Rick has been like my best friend for years and years and years now. And he's done so much work. He's done so much work on Risque, and he's sailed with me so much. So Rick actually got kind of back on board the day that Rick had given up on sailing with anybody and nobody wants to come with, and he went through that whole battle that I think every sailor does out here. He gets rid of his boat, he takes it to the dump, and he comes back, and now I'm like, hey dude, so you like sailing, right? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, why don't you just come on board my boat, we'll go sailing. So, and then he just gets rid of his boat, and now he's right back on board my boat, sailing all the time with me. And we sailed a lot. And I think it kind of put the wind back in his sails a little bit. You've done so much work on my boat, like why not take custody of this boat? I'm going to get off this lake here shortly. I'm going to be out of here. Why don't you take custody of Risque? Just take it, She's already in the slip. I shook hands with Jeff. I shook hands with Mr. Perkins on that Albrecht 30. I called Rick and I told him, hey, I got that Albrecht 30. Are you still willing to take Risque? Come, a certain month this year, the slip fees are due. I pay up front for the whole year, so it's one big chunk of change up front. And when that happens, that's your bill, and we just slide the paperwork over with the marina, and you're good to go, man. You got a new boat. And I was out of here. And Rick, of course, like, oh, I'm not just going to take the boat. I'm going to pay you. Rick is a really nice guy. I knew he was going to insist on that, so I knew that what I was going to do is I was going to take that payment and take it right back to John and Larry and pay for his slip. And that way he would have a free boat. I wanted this to be such a turnkey experience for him. Well, right towards the end of that, Rick was like, well, my work schedule's just picked up. I don't think I'm going to have any time free, and the time free I do have is precious. And he eventually told me, he goes, look, I think it's going to be one of those things just like last time where I have a boat and I'm never down here. And when I am down here, no one's coming with. I knew exactly what he was talking about, and I understood that. He decided not to take custody of the boat. That's fair, because I got to tell you, there is no such thing as a free boat. You're still paying for maintenance. You're still paying for consumables every time you go out, gas, ice, food, drink, snacks, all that stuff. And it gets expensive just to take your boat out on the lake for 2 hours, just to keep it from falling apart. So on top of the slip fees, I knew that he was right. The juice wasn't going to be worth the squeeze for him. So here I am with an Albrecht 30 in Southern California, a Coronado 25 in Central California on the lake. And I'm like, well, I better come down here and start taking pictures of it and get it listed, and someone surely will buy it. And I got to do this now before the slip fees come up here in a few months. This is the most interesting part of this story. When Rick backs out, I made some almost formality calls to people who like sailing, are into sailing, and didn't have a boat at the time. And one of those was actually Jeff. Jeff just sold me that Albrecht 30 because he can't be down in SoCal anymore, but he actually lives in this area. And I'm like, I just said, like, there's not a chance you would want to buy Risque from me, would there? I bought your boat down south, so I'm going to get rid of Risque here up in Millerton. And he goes, it just so happens that I have a job offer that I've been interested in. I'm going to do that job, but I would like a boat to sail around in the meantime, just to hold me over until I'm done with this like 3-year job he's doing. He's going to be probably on a liveaboard here within a few years. And in the meantime, he's like, I do need to sail, man. Not having a boat is driving me nuts. So what ends up happening is Mr. Perkins has this great idea. He goes, why don't I take care of the slip fee for this year, and I use the boat whenever I feel like. I couldn't believe it. Basically, what's happened is me and Jeff have swap boats. He's taken over the financial responsibility on Risque for the most part, and we revisit that at the end of every year and see if it's still something we want to continue. I spend a lot of my time on the Albrecht 30 now, and during the week he works, so he's really only out here on Risque on the weekends. And on the weekends, I'm Santa Cruz Island, the Channel Islands. That's where I've been. It works out perfect. So that's what's going on. I'm going to wrap this up. And I'm really happy you guys watched the prologue with me. It's not something I think that other channels would bother doing. They wouldn't even start recording or posting anything until they were doing stuff that I'm about to do, like in Chapter 1. Now, in Chapter 1, I've already filmed probably 6 or 7 episodes worth of stuff. I've gone out to Santa Cruz Island. In a couple days here, I'm leaving to Catalina. We'll be there for a week. We're filming the whole thing. But I've been to Scorpion Anchorage, Potato Harbor. I've been out in the fog, out in the dark. I've been tossed around out there. Good footage, great sailing, beautiful waters, beautiful places. I can't wait to share it with you guys. What I didn't film a lot of was the fact that my traditional relationship with my wife and my nuclear family, we opened our family up to Amber. We're what's called, I guess it's like a sister wives thing. It's like it's polygamous. It's a throuple. So I have 2 women in my life. I have Amber and I have Brittany. I don't know why everybody doesn't do this. Well, actually, I know exactly why most people don't do this. But if you can do this, it can be very good. And it's been very good. And that's something that you guys haven't seen or really had been explained at all in the prologue, and that all comes out a lot more in chapter 1. We're gonna touch on all that stuff and what's been difficult about it, what's been great about it, how it works for us, and how it works for sailing. And everyone at my table is moving in the same direction, moving towards the same goals. It's been very, very healthy, very functional. Really, the only dysfunction I've had from it, the judgment and assumptions from other people. Like, I think the most basic default one is, oh, well, how does your wife you just disrespect your wife like that? Or this chick is just going to cross all these boundaries with you. I'm like, it's never even occurred to them that it was an adult conversation up front for a long time about whether or not we wanted to try this together. And there wasn't really any disrespect or manipulation or boundaries being crossed. And that is the first assumption. I always roll my eyes at it. So I do think that chapter 1 will be the beginning of me only posting content once every other week. And that's just because the boat's a long way away. So thank you guys so much for being a part of the prologue. We are well on our way to our goals. This is a perfect middle ground stepping stone for our next step. We are seriously talking to Island Packet about their 439. And in the next few chapters, you're going to learn how at 37, I have been able to retire, get on board sailboats, sail basically full time with passive income still coming in. And I'm going to buy that Island Packet 439 in cash. I'm going to pay for it up front. I will be the only channel on YouTube that is not only a throuple, but is sailing full time on a brand new next generation Island Packet 439 in places that I can stay in as long as I want, because I've already I'm retired. I've developed passive income streams through investments and dumb luck, honestly. And I'll go into how all of that worked out for me and how we did all of that. So I'm very lucky, and I'm really happy that you guys are watching this and deciding to come with. It means a lot to me